guys. But we've had that was me. I can't blame it on anybody else. I messed about with the camera and yeah, threw me out. Right, okay. So we must give God thanks and praise for another day. It's been a lovely day. I got beautiful sleep. We must give God thanks and praise. Oh gosh, yes. Thanks and praise for this one. I'm going to use my little tambourine. For the beautiful hot weather that we have had. Oh, that's my crutches. Sorry. That's my crutches. For the beautiful weather that we have had over the last few days. It's been absolutely marvellous. Thank him. And I'm not going to digress on that. Right. Yes. Prayers, we must send out prayers for those who have taken the vaccine, their families, and who have sadly passed away. There's been quite a few people, actually, which has been very, very hard to hear, very hard to listen to. I'm not going to give my opinion on this vaccine. I'm just going to say that I will not be taking it. I had a sharp word with my GP about this matter and about other matters concerning this thing. Now, also want to ask for prayers for those who have lost their families, not just due to the COVID-19, but they lost their families over the last 12 months. And for those who have lost their jobs as well. There's a lot of people who have been losing jobs and losing their homes and, you know, lots of things going on. We're giving God thanks and praise. But I can't even read out all the prayers, the requests, because we've got a lot to get through. So yes, I'm gonna stick with my red. I've got a reddish top on. Oh, the blood of Jesus, it washes white as snow. Now I shan't sing it like the old people used to sing it in church, because you turn off your TV. But anyway, oh yes, we have got a gentleman now coming on, a very dapper gentleman. I've known him all my life. And he's a promoter extraordinaire. He's worked in the music industry for many, many years. And he was on the, I believe it was, what's going on with my questions? Oh, Lord. On the 6th of May. And he's come back on again tonight because we didn't get to finish all the questions. And I want to welcome into the studio the magnificent, the integral, I call him Brother Barris, and his name is Beresford Dawkins extraordinaire. Welcome into the studio, please. Woo! Yes, much love. Yes.
Hello, young lady. How are you?
I'm fabulous, you know. I got some quality sleep today, so I'm revving to go. You can see I'm all pepped up.
So I see.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Very, very well. Very well.
Good. And how is the family?
The family, give thanks. Everybody is well. Wife is well. MF is well.
Yes.
2 daughters are well.
Yes.
Son-in-laws are well, and grandchildren are well. Extended family as well. Are all
Praise
well.
God.
Thank God.
Well, we give God thanks and praise for that.
It was my youngest grandson's birthday. He's now 1 year old. So yeah, fantastic.
Oh, 1 year old. When was that? This week?
Yeah, Friday.
Oh, so 7 days ago. Well, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. What's his name?
Miles.
Happy birthday, Miles. Hope you have a fantastic birthday. Or should we just go? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you, Miles. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. God bless the Lord. Yes. That's the fastest I've ever sung it. Well, we're gonna go straight in now, Brother Berries.
You've really had some sleep today, haven't you? Really?
I've had some Jesus pills and some Jesus juice. Bless God. Right, Brother Berries. How would you describe the gospel music of today? And I can ask you
That's
that
cool.
question because you've worked extensively in the music business, in the music industry, as we should say, because I'm not sure whether, well, we're not interviewing me, we're interviewing you. How would you describe the gospel music of today?
So for me, gospel music, the clue's in the title. Gospel means good news.
Yes.
And if your music is about spreading the good news, as Jesus described it, which is about love, hope, and life, the whole 316 as it, then that's what gospel music is. So I believe also, though, as well as spreading the good news about Jesus Christ, I think gospel music should also speak into our social circumstance in terms of our social economic circumstance. And very rarely you come across a gospel song from places of worship that speak into our time. So our
Oh,
lived experience,
wow.
our lived experience, we very rarely pen to paper around that. So I struggle with some of that sometimes. So yeah, so that's how I would describe it. Yes, it's twofold. It should always promote the good news of Jesus, as we are all stewards of Jesus Christ. But I also believe that the music should also speak into our social and economic circumstances.
Oh, praise the Lord. Okay.
Is that,
So
is that
would you
okay?
say, yeah, but that's your answer, isn't it? And you're sticking by it, isn't it?
Of course.
Right, of course. So, the olden day songs, like the hymns that our parents used to sing, um,
Yeah.
and the today songs. What would you say are the comparisons? What could you say you could compare with the two uh, different ages? Is there anything that you could say, oh, those are the same, those are similarities, or those have nothing to do with one to do with the other?
No, I think also worship and music is cultural. It moves with the culture. It moves with um, uh, the season and the time and the
Yeah,
day. So you refer to, let's say, our first and second generation who came here to England. Their stories and their songs are songs of victory. They're songs of overcoming. They're songs of resilience, and the list goes on. So, when I hear my mum sing, "Oh, victory in Jesus, my
oh,
Savior, forever."
oh, bless the
You,
God.
you see where that song takes you straight away. So,
Yes, straight
and
away.
and then there's another song which I always used to hear when I was in the house. Father alone will
Oh, that's
know
faith.
all about it. Father alone will
Yeah.
understand. So when I was growing up as a child, I never knew what that was on about. But as I grow further along the journey, my lived experience, I start to understand what that song was about. So I say that to
My
say
mum
this.
would say at that point, my mum would
Yeah.
say, little piggy asking mother, what make him out long so? And she'd say, you will soon find out. And this is so
And there
true,
you go. So
isn't
so there's the Jamaican proverbs, as I call them.
it?
So yeah, and that's true. So your own experience will tell you about your circumstance, and
Yeah.
those songs were, those songs that our parents used to sing were great. Um, so if you compare that to now, I think we've moved in time and culture, and that is right. I think there's diversity in faith. I think there's diversity in work. There's definitely diversity in worship. And sometimes I think in religion we struggle to understand that. But I'm clear on that. I think if the culture of the day, as long as they understand the power of music and the influence that music has, then I think as long as they're spreading the good news through their music, I think that's a really that's that's the music of the day is relevant in terms of how we worship and how we um, use our music to influence and galvanize communities.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Bless the Lord. Okay. All right. Oh, here we go, Brother Lewis. Hope you're on point here now. I say ding dong, you say
Tomato, tomato.
tomato. Come on now, play the game. I say ding dong, you say
Ding dong.
bell. What's up? You didn't get
Oh,
the
okay.
questions in there, you know. Okay. All right,
I
ding
I got
dong.
these questions. Really?
Yes, because I've
Okay.
lifted them up from the 6th of May. So I remember I said to you, we were just carrying on because I had so many questions for you. Because people needed to see the rounded Brother Beres. So it was supposed to be I say ding dong, you say bell. Ding dong bell.
Okay.
Ding dong bell. I say sing song, you say wow. Sing song wow. But you've completely messed that up.
Yeah, well, I don't know where we are between now and May. I'm just following your lead because all
Okay.
the questions that are written down, I have no idea in
Where
what
you put
order they're
them?
coming. So I just
Oh,
no,
right.
no, no. I have no idea what they're coming in. So I just thought we were having a conversation. It's
All
fine.
right. All
It
right.
really
All
is
right.
fine.
Okay.
No
Well,
judgments being made here. It's great.
well, thank you very much. All right. So what I wanted to lead into beautifully was into the well, which is I thought was very obvious. But anyway, the well, the well,
Okay.
sir. Now, where did the idea come forth from the well?
Okay. So the actual concept and the idea about bringing musicians and singers into various different venues around the city came from. I used to work with a guy called John Campbell from London and a woman called Del White. And the three of us got together. We done auditions for all the musicians in Birmingham, and we managed to set up this the last Saturday of every month, um,
Okay.
a music showcase called the Well. Now, for those of you that don't know what the well means or what it stands for, so it's a story of where Jesus met the Samaritan woman at the well,
Mm-hmm.
and Jesus asked the woman for water to drink. What people don't know behind that story is that Jews and Samaritans are not supposed to meet.
That's
You know,
right.
that was the racism of the day. So
Yes.
the inequalities, and furthermore, the woman was a woman who had several husbands, and she
Yes.
was an outcast in terms of her community. And so
Indeed.
Jesus asked her for woman, and the woman just questioned Jesus. I'm cutting the story short, and said, "Look, you can't ask me for water to drink, master. Who are you?" So Jesus just said to her, "If you drink from the water that I shall give you, the living water that I shall give you, you will
Yeah.
never ever thirst again." So
Never
that's
ever.
the principle of what the well is. So, and if you remember, my strap line was, "Oh, taste and see. Oh, taste and
Mm-hmm.
see that the Lord is good." So, it's much more than just the strap line and just the tag. So my challenge was to anybody in the community, if you came to this music event, because of the experience that you would have in terms of
Yeah.
your connectivity with us who are from faith, who are followers of Jesus, you will never thirst again. Everything that you would need, whether it be music, your social circumstances, some people will even tell you that they met their wives and their husbands at the well. So you can
Yeah.
imagine in 1992, that was quite, it wasn't the thing to be doing, where Christians from all over the country was meeting at the well. So therefore, people were challenging me. Why am I
The
taking gospel
pastors
music
will
out of
come after you.
church? Yeah, yeah. Why am I
Who
taking
was
gospel music out
challenging
of
you?
church?
Oh my goodness!
Oh,
Wow.
various people. And am I taking gospel music out of church? Is it some kind of club that I'm running? All of those kind of things. Not understanding that actually the well became one of the biggest witnesses of its time and still is today. So, and again, no judgments made about those people there. I think at the time for me, to whom much is given, much is required. So, you know, I think it was vision that I was holding closely. And some people would say I guarded it and protected it with my life. And because I did, because at the time I was quite precious about the vision, because, you know, people had a view about what I was doing and how I was doing it. And so I had to guard it. And fortunately, you know, I was able to do that. Now I'm a little bit more relaxed, further along. I'm more mature in my outlook, and I can share that. I can share that with others who can help to build. So yeah, I think yeah, the Well was a substantial music event for musicians and singers. At the time, evangelist, if you were going to be an evangelist or if you were going to be a minister, that's where the investment would go. But if you were into music and singing, you know, you'd always be the butt of the church or be criticized within the church in lots of different ways. So that's whether you could turn it down in a too loud, you know, make noise on my head, you know, that was the thing. So we managed to find a platform for those who were great at music and arts could really share and express the love of Jesus through their music.
Oh, are you saying that? You know, I remember being at a convention one time, and the choir was singing. The director was directing this song that he'd written, and it was really beautiful. And then he told me afterwards that the bishop told him, hurry up and finish and come down. I want to put the preacher on. And I thought, oh my goodness. I mean, didn't they know that in the Bible it says Judah must go first? Praise must go first. You know, it's so sad to me to think how um, musicians and singers are looked upon in certain circles, as if to say that they're unimportant. They're just there to just tickle your fancy, kind of thing. And it's not about tickling your fancy. They can bring down the presence of the Almighty God into a place. I remember going to Dee Shy's launch of her album, and the atmosphere changed. And Whitney's wife had brought her sister and the boyfriend, and I was standing to the side of the stage, and I was watching them, and their mouth dropped open. The atmosphere was you could have cut it with a knife, and they didn't know what to do with themselves, and they was asking me questions about what was that, what happened there, you know, because they had never experienced going into a church and experienced that. They've never experienced the presence of the Almighty God in that way. And that it was held at the Drum, the same place that you held the Well at for so many years. And I remember saying to Disha, you know, remember you must walk around that building, you know, because you don't know what had gone on in that building before, you know, what they'd been doing in that building the night before. Walk around and pray, you know, sanctify the place. And it was just the most beautiful experience of the Lord touching hearts of people who did not know him, did not know in any shape or form. Parents hadn't gone to church, you know, and this time they never went to church themselves except to go to weddings and funerals and christenings. That's all they knew about church. So it's really, really sad. And the other thing that you said earlier, talked about, you know, with the gospel, the Bible does say you must go into all the world. It didn't say, you know, saying, why are you taking our songs, our gospel songs, and taking them out? And of course, you're supposed to take the gospel songs out to the world. They're supposed to hear about the Lord, because that's what the gospel is, spreading the good news. You know, sometimes I have to just wonder, you know, what's the people reading? You pick up the Bible and, oh, we've got a shout out. I interrupt. Who do we have? Who do we have?
So it's Trevor Bailey, and Trevor's saying we had some amazing evenings. Hiya, Trevor. Thank you for tuning in.
Trevor Bailey and the Baileys. Oh my goodness, they all grew up in church together. Oh, Lady Full Road and thing. Yes. So we're supposed to take the music out, you know. So I do congratulate you and applaud you for sticking by your guns. You see, that's the reason why the Lord has given you this toughness in you, wherein once you know the Lord has told you something, Brother Berries, you're not looking to left or right or asking anybody for any help. You're just going to stand alone, and you'll do it if you have to by yourself, because you know what you heard. And as I know, where there's a vision, there's provision. You don't have to really worry about the money or anything else, It will come, because that's not your business. That's the Lord's business. And people seem to misunderstand that a lot. And that's the reason why I believe the well was so successful and went on for so many years. How many years in total did it go on for, Berries?
Well, we started in 1992. And again, you got to imagine that we put a comedian in the mix as well. So we didn't have a typical compere. We had our compere was a comedian. And at the time, there was lots of comedians around that was hosting our show, and they link the different artists. So from 1992
okay, hold
to
on, Berries. Just name some of those comedians, please. Let's just give them little shout outs.
So all right, so you put me on the spot now. I don't know if you remember Trio, and the clues in the title. So there was Clive Palmer and Donald Brown.
He's so funny.
See, you mentioned Clive's name and you start laughing straight away.
Yeah,
that's how funny he was. And the original guy, he used to do the Utterly Butterly advert. What's his name? His name will come back to me. There was Alan Charles as well. I don't know if you remember Alan Charles.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Yeah, name. There was Rose Wilson. She done a couple of spots for us as a woman. But the first one was Junior Simpson, the original.
Oh, yes.
You must remember Junior Simpson.
Yeah.
So Junior Simpson was the guy that kicked it off. He was the first comedian to host the Well with the Well host band, and we had Godfrey Gale, Delroy Hutchison, Maxine Richards.
Comedians, Godfrey Gale.
No. I'm saying the host band. So you had the comedians and the host band.
Sorry. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Am I going too fast? I'm sorry.
No. I was just picking. I was just trying to juggle on behind you, Barry. Carry on, my dear. Carry on.
No problem. So yeah. So here's Owen. You're right. Here he is again. Great show as ever, Barry. You're right. I think pastors became insecure when singers and musicians visited their church. It was sad to see. Wow.
Oh,
okay.
You know what? I never ever thought about it that way. Pastor Owen.
You know what? And I think there was something about pulpit ministry. I call it pulpit ministry, and people had a view of what pulpit ministry looked like. So I'm not really critical of or even judgmental of those guys. I just had to. I was never going to fit in the pulpit in the way that some of those ministers wanted me to fit, and I think, like I said before, to whom much is given, much is required. But you have to understand that your relationship with Christ has to be. It's about relationship, and once you understand who you are, what you're called to do, as you said before, then it's about how you go about executing it. So again, I wasn't critical of ministers. The fact is that even in the day job that I do now, from a young 21-year-old, even before I started doing the promotions, my ministry and mission was to always engage with the most vulnerable in the community. And God has given me several tools to do that, and music is one of them. Right.
Okay. I'm going to move on, but before I do, you had an anniversary at the Symphony Hall. Very prestigious place. What was that anniversary?
That was our 10th anniversary. That was our 10th anniversary.
10th anniversary. And how did you go about getting that venue?
Well, again, like I said, we've got to understand how. Was your producer saying that you're nosy? Yeah, he's probably right.
Of course, I'm allowed to be nosy. There was something that just came up just then. Somebody shout out, or was it the same one? Okay, all right then. Sorry, Barry. Go ahead.
If you think about when you asked me my question about my daughter's getting married at St. Paul's Cathedral
Yeah,
and
yeah,
also St. Martin's Church. There's
yeah.
something about us as a people that we don't think we deserve or even warrant being in those spaces. And my
Right,
view is
right.
totally different. My view is totally different to that. Totally different to that. Like I said before, our parents come to this country whenever they came, some in 1948 and then the 50s and the 60s. And they've paid their taxes, they've worked hard. Birmingham is the city that it is because of their contribution. So therefore, in my mind, those buildings are ours just as much as everybody else's.
Yes.
But we decide that we're not going to go to those places because they're too high and lofty. And I don't understand where that mentality comes from. So again, I understand how the city works. I was working with a local MP, a local councillor, sorry, in the city at the time. She loved what I was doing, and she said, "Look,
Oh.
I think your vision for gospel music is great. I
Mhm.
think as you're coming up to your 10th anniversary, I want to help you, and let's see if we can get Symphony Hall." And I said,
Oh wow, wonderful.
what do I need to do? So she lined the ducks up, as I say, and
Mm.
lo and behold, we got Symphony Hall, and I've used it several times since. Symphony Hall, if you remember, it was Ed Doolan, and I think it was Dulcie Dixon that hosted the show.
Yeah, Dulcie.
Ed
Yeah.
Doolan was a serious presenter at
Yes.
WM at the time,
Hmm.
and we had a packed house, and it was a fabulous event, and it was a great way to celebrate 10 years of music.
Fantastic event. I absolutely loved it. I
And
remember my
and
teacher in a Tommy Hilfiger skull cap, and he must have been about 75 at the time. Yeah, yeah. It was a wonderful, wonderful exhibition of gospel music in its purest form for me.
yeah,
I really
it was.
enjoyed it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a great event, and I think out of that event, we are now working to see Birmingham become the capital of gospel music. So, like
Wow.
I said, it's about strategy, it's about vision, and again,
Is this
to whom much is given.
groundbreaking news, as we had the BBC would
No,
say?
no, 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 it's not quite groundbreaking. It's something that I've always carried and I've always said. So when I say it, people look at me and they don't even they think, what's he on about? How can Birmingham be the capital of gospel music? But it's part of the vision. People, you have to have a vision. If you
Yeah,
don't have a vision, then where's the framework going to come from? If I
yeah.
say Birmingham's the capital of gospel music, so what does that look like? Most people would be quite terrified of that. To me, I can't wait to see it happen, and we put in lots of things in place.
Neither
You
can
can
I.
see
I
how
can't.
you
Wow.
you can see how 316 is growing at the moment,
Yes.
um, and we're engaging with artists across the country, who want to showcase, and that's why I believe Birmingham should be the capital of gospel music, not because it's better than anywhere else, but we need to be. If you think about Motown, when Motown had their view, remember their music weren't being played
Yes.
anywhere. So
Yes.
Berry Gordy just said, "We're going to do it ourselves."
Mm-hmm.
And
Did.
sometimes you have to be that bold. Step out, whether you're in church or out of church, regardless of what the church is going to say. Birmingham, the capital of gospel music, and it's down to me then and how I work with artists, singers, the council, the city to make that happen.
But you look at the line of work that you have been in, Berries, what the Lord has had you involved in, and if you step back from this tapestry of Beresford Dawkins, you could see all coming together. Where, as you said about somebody else, saw the doctor lining up. You're able to jump into that part and take what you need from that, and jump into that part and take what you need from that, because you've met all these different people, and you've not shied away from meeting people. You've not shied away from putting yourself out there, and it's bringing you back good rewards. And I believe it's going to bring you great rewards and take you to places where other people wouldn't necessarily be able to go because they were scared. I mean, you can have fear and you do things in the fear, you see wonderful things happen, but some people can have the fear crippling them. And you haven't allowed any kind of fear to cripple you. you've just gone out and you've just trailblazed.
Yeah, and I think you're so right. So I'm never going to say I've never been fearful. I've often been fearful. There were times where, again, when you look at me as this, very average sort of guitarist, most people would think, and this is how most people treated me, I believe. Actually, you shouldn't be
Oh,
doing this. You are not worthy of doing this. That's another story for another time. But it was never about that for me. It
I
was
best write
about
that one down for the next time. That's a story
it,
for
it's
another
it's it's
time.
it's it's very much about understanding who you are in Christ, who you are in terms of your relationship, and how. And like I was saying to you before, if you understand your theology,
Yes.
who God is in your theology, you will understand how you treat people. And once you understand how you treat people, then you'll realize how you should act. And that's where I've been for several years. So yeah, it has been fearful at times. I think throughout the pandemic, it's been even more fearful. It's been a great time of reflection, and I think I'm growing, and it's okay to grow. And when you're
Yeah.
growing, there's a vulnerability within that growth. So sometimes that's where the fear comes from. But like you say,
Yeah.
you just have to understand who you are and where your relationship sits within that.
Oh, what a question. Did you believe those people that said, "Who do you think you are? Just an average guitarist. Um, who do you think you are trying to put on these shows?"
No, no, but that's the thing, you see. And then when you don't believe that, what happens? Because you don't believe that and you don't present yourself as if you believe it, then for them, it becomes something else. So they start seeing you as arrogant. They start seeing you, as you said last time, aggressive, stone-faced, and all of these things they attribute to you. And actually, I don't believe any of it. I know who I am. So the things that sometimes people attribute to me, I can't be necessarily accountable for that.
No,
I
it's
just
none of
have to say,
your
okay,
business, to be honest. I've heard that said that there's a quote that says that what people think about you is none of your business. It's got nothing to do with you. That's their perception and them go on with it. You just be true to
I
yourself.
think that I think there are times when people can present themselves in a particular way in terms of their behavior that will cause people to say, actually, no, this is who you are. And then the evidence will be able to back that up. That is true. But sometimes when people make judgments of me, which is unfounded, and it's only their perception, or then actually, no, I'm not going to listen to that. I'm certainly not going to believe it, and I'm certainly not going to act in that way. Um, Unfortunately, there are people that do take on board some of those negativities that are thrown on them and thrown out and casted on their lives, and hence their dreams and their realities will go with them to the grave.
Never realized.
Um,
Never realized.
and
Right.
some of the best dreams are are in the graveyards. People
Oh,
die with
very.
their
What a
people
term.
die with their yeah, people die with their dreams and their aspirations because they believe the negativity what people said to them. Oh, it looks like we got another shout out. It's Patricia Panton. Oh, hello, Patricia. I
Hello,
love
Patricia.
Beresford Dawkins. He loves me. God bless you, Patricia.
God bless you. That's a beautiful thing to say. Yeah. Bless the Lord.
Mm.
Bless the Lord. Um, Sorry, Beres, I missed the end of that because I was just trying to look at the shout out. Oh
Yeah,
gosh,
I was just saying that people have dreams and they have aspirations, but
yeah.
sadly they often take that to the grave with them, and they never
Oh
ever
yes, yes.
get to they never get to live it out because somebody somewhere has cast some kind of aspersions on them. So back to the original question, no, I never believed some of those things that people said about me. No.
Yeah. You got a great memory, Beres, because I didn't long forget that original question. Bless the Lord. Um, right. Okay. Yeah. Let's talk social justice and youth guns and knife crime, Brother Beres. And I also
Okay.
want to, because we're diverting a bit now from the music side, because you're a very rounded person. I also remember you told me you wrote a report, I believe, that was used to by the council, if I've got that right, or remember memory. What is your creative process in everything that you're doing? But let's talk about the social justice. How did that come on board for you? Was it working with the youngsters that you were saying that, you know, their last stop was with this school that you were working at? After that, it was going to be an institution, like a prison institution.
Yeah, that's right. So as a young 21-year-old, I started to work in a children's home called Ipstones Avenue back in Stetchford, where we used to manage young men, 16 of them at the time. That's when children's homes, you could have 16 children in a children's home. You couldn't have that now. It's not a requirement anymore. It would just be too big as a children's home. And from there, I went on to.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah, so you won't have 16 children in the children's homes anymore. It's classed as far too many to manage in a qualitative way. So children's homes, in terms of numbers of beds, have been significantly reduced over the years. But in my time, we used to have to manage up to 16 young people at one time, and that might be 2 or 3 members of staff. On a worst case scenario, you might end up on your own, or you might end up with just 2 members of staff managing 16 children. And that's where I learned to really interact and understand the importance of relationships, not only with people, but that's where I started to learn who I was. So moved on from there to work in one of the most challenging children's homes in the city at the time, where we managed some of the most difficult boys, and the last stop for them was my place of work. It was seen as the last stop before prison.
Wow.
So therefore, we had to have a strong team. And if I'm going to say, that's where we sat in the marketplace. If you think about it as a business, just to use that term, in the care profession, if we're caring for these most difficult children, you must understand that they have had very challenging lives, vulnerable, like I say, but they've committed some serious offences as well. And if we weren't able to manage them in the best way we could, the last stop would be either remand or custody. And so therefore, you can imagine we'd learned some skills in terms of how to articulate ourselves, how to present. I had a great team that I was leading, some 30-odd people. And, that's night staff, cooks, domestics, just everybody was just brilliant. And from there, I managed to get a position within the city. 2003, under Tisha Shakespeare, there was a severe shooting. And what you have to understand at the time, that guns and gangs were a thing in the city, but at this particular point, it was New Year, and it was 2 girls that got shot. Up until that point, it was boys who were being killed. But there was something about the New Year element and these 2 young women that was killed, and that changed everything in terms of how we began to see gun crime. And I was one of the lead officers at the time. I was asked to do various things. One of them was to coordinate the funeral from a city perspective with lots of other city officers. The funeral was at Cannon Street, people remember that. And then we had the big event at Aston Villa football ground. Now, when I say to,
I remember that.
So when people say, "Oh, how do you manage to do that?" Understand, I've been doing the well for years, so those skills are transferable. It's just that it was in the space of a football ground, and I just had to adjust. And again, there's some transferable skills. I learned a lot about myself in that time as well. And then the city said to me, "Okay, we want you to write a report on this whole thing," and I had to write a report called "Enough is Enough." It's out there. And from there was some recommendations that I made that I've followed to this day, because it was so impactful. in terms of my own
Oh,
career. So some of those recommendations, some people have moved away. But again, in terms of some of the gun crime and the knife crime, and sadly, only this week, we lost another young man through
yes,
knife crime on Monday, a young 14-year-old. My
yes,
condolences goes out to his family. And
absolutely.
therefore, knife crime and gun crime in our city is still prevalent. And, again, this is where I always want to challenge the church, or places of worship. I want to call them places of worship because it's no longer a black thing or a white thing. That's
No,
another story for another time. We've got black church and we've got white church. I don't think that's what God called us to do. I don't know how we've landed up in that situation. But again, that's
it's
another situation.
ridiculous, Berries. It's
But
ridiculous.
yeah,
The Lord said, "I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it." He never
yeah,
said He's
but you
going to
see,
build a church on a
yeah, but
prophecy
you
or
see,
me.
yeah,
What
but
a mess.
again, I think we can be always critical of that. But my question is, what are we going to do? How are we going to change the situation? How are we going to support that young man right now? That young man's family. How are we going to support them? What frameworks? Going back to strategic thinking. How are we going to be lobby the government? You know, God forbid, you think of Dalian Atkinson's family right now, who sadly was brutalized by the police, and he had a mental health problem. I don't see anybody championing the cause in the same way we did for George Floyd. But yet, young black men have been dying in this city consistently. But I don't hear the same kind of responses in terms of what we've seen along George Floyd. Now,
Oh,
you
I
could
know that there's
argue,
one gentleman that's doing something. DJ Rico, that he does a fast and prayer every Thursday, I believe, and he does put on concerts to try to raise awareness of prison.
yeah, sure, and
Cool.
yeah, and Rico's doing some great work around knife crime. But I would argue Rico is probably feeling very alone. You think of the city that we live in and look at the size of the city, right?
Yes,
I would argue, I don't know this, I haven't asked him the question, but from where I'm sitting, he's probably feeling very alone at the moment in terms of
there is
action.
that. I
There,
must
there-
bring him on the show
this
and
is a
ask him.
yeah, do because this is it's a huge problem that we've got, and it's multi-layered and it's multifaceted, and we're very good as a city of catching people and convicting them. And that's the end of it. But there's much more work to be done. Like I say, it's multi-layered, it's multifaceted, and
There's a shout out
yeah,
there, Berries. It's been up
yeah,
there for a while. But
it's Trevor Bailey, and Trevor's
hi
still
there.
tuning in, always pushing for excellence. Thank you, Trevor.
Yes,
And I
you,
just
Trevor.
think,
And there's another one straight after that.
oh, Carmen Dawkins, that's my sister. Drove past
Oh,
Ipstones Avenue last week. Oh dear, and it reminded me of the days when you did sleep-ins.
all
That's
right.
that's quite funny. Yeah.
And
Don't
another one.
always hear of these local police brutality, shame. Yeah, it's the truth. And that's where, my heart is, I think. So I'm not going to be critical of people, but I think this pandemic gives us the chance to really reflect on how we do worship. What does that mean when we're talking about worship and engaging communities? And I think um, as much as the pandemic has been challenging, it's been a real reflective time. And only this week I was doing a program about how we do worship during this post-pandemic era. Things are changing, and
Yes.
people want it to go back to normal, but I'm not sure normal was that great, to be
No.
honest.
Well, what
And
the
that's
government is always calling there's a new norm come about now with this pandemic that's happened, and there has to be a new norm. It's amazing that the Lord, He says that He changeth not, but yet still, He does bring about changes, and He can work in any era, any time, any place, any situation, and bring about changes by using the very people that other people would say, oh, well, where did they going? They can't do this. You know, it's like crabs in a barrel. You know, they're trying to pull down the crab that's trying to get out and that's got heist, and they don't want to do nothing themselves, but they don't want nobody else to do it. It's a bit of a shame. But yeah, it is it's a new norm.
Yeah,
The internet is a
you know
great
what,
way.
but also, Si, I think this is probably one of the greatest times that we could ever live in. Who would ever guess that I could be sitting in my home, you sitting in your home, having this conversation about all the things that we've just talked about to potentially a global audience, a global audience. So therefore, what I always try and say to people, this is an opportunity, what we have here, and it's how you use this opportunity to engage people with all the things that we think we should be doing. So to me, this is a great opportunity. I remember when I was growing up as a young boy, and people used to go from house to house, dropping leaflets through the door. And they were saying at the time, this is how we're going to get the gospel to the world. And I was thinking, and as a young boy, I remember walking the street sometimes with my dad while he was putting leaflets through the door. And I was thinking, how are we going to get the gospel to the world by putting leaflets through? I'm just thinking, it's never going to happen in my time. I just don't know how we're going to do it. But it was the belief that they had to get the gospel to the world. That was the thing I should have focused on, not the actual putting the leaflets through the door. And here we are using digital platforms to global audiences.
Amazing.
You know, I just think a digital platform, if it's used in the right way, it can be amazing. And I just saw the message there from my sister. Thank you so much, my sister.
We've got
Appreciate
3 more
that. Thank you.
Okay, there's going to be one after the other,
Okay, no problem. Is there a book on the way?
That's one of my questions, your teeth.
I don't know who's asking the question.
You know what? I want to keep my questions to myself in future and not tell people. Tell me. Yeah. Okay. Your book and Lord, help me. Well, you did do a report, didn't you? Now you said that if people have a mind, they can go and read that. Where would they be able to find this report? Is it online at all?
Yeah, I think when we did it, we didn't have online when we did it, but I think we can now, if you were to go on to the police commissioner, Carver Anderson done a report, and he made some recommendations from that. Yeah, Dr. Carver Anderson now.
Yeah.
And he's made some recommendations from that report. So yeah, if people want it, I have a copy. But if people want it online, I think there's some movements to make that available online at the moment.
Okay. Will there be a cost associated with that?
No, I wouldn't have thought so. No, it's about the information really, and it was the only report of the time that captured what happened in 2003 when those girls died in the way that it happened on the ground. So as it was happening on the ground, I managed to capture that in a report form.
And maybe there needs to be an update or an addendum or a caveat to that report.
Yeah, well, it's 15, 16 years ago. And I think there are several reports that have come out since. So through the Police and Crime Commission, they've done several reports. So there are reports out there. There are other projects that I've been involved in. If people want to really get into the meat of it, if they go online and look at 300 Voices, Shifting the Dial, and Up My Street. Now, you did ask, so I've just given you
300 voices.
300 voices, right?
Yeah.
In relation to what we're talking about in terms of engaging with young Black men who are involved in criminal justice and how to engage, the 300 Voices is a toolkit of which me and several others produced that toolkit. So that is available online. And then if you read another report called Up My Street, that is also available online. And all this has been born out of the work that I've been doing since 2003.
Okay.
And there's a recent one which only produced this year from the Council of Mental Health in London, and that one is called Shifting the Dial, and that's looking
Shifting
at
the dial.
shifting the dial, and that's looking at all the inequalities around how the pandemic specifically has impacted on young black men.
Oh,
So
I'm gonna
there's
show
four
you.
four there's four reports there.
No, well, four. I've got 300 Voices, which is a toolkit. Up My Street, Shifting the Dial. And which one am I missing
Yeah.
out?
The Council for Mental Health report.
Council for Mental Health.
Yeah.
For mental health. Excellent.
And shout out to D-Shy. Hello, D-Shy.
Oh, D-Shy. Hello, my beauty. How are you? Hope you're doing well. Mr. Producer, can we have that running along the bottom? Take out the Real Talk Show with Si, if possible, and put the 300 Voices toolkit, Up My Street, Shifting the Dial, and Council for Mental Health. Let those run along the bottom. That Brother Bruce is involved with. People can look for that.
And there's a commissioning report as well from the IPCC. Sorry.
ISPCC.
IPCC.
IPCC. Right. Do you need to see? Can it be done? Can it be done? Oh yeah, lovely. Right. So as he's clearing that down, so we can move on. So oh my goodness, I'm jumping back a bit into the music side. We've lost some great musicians. Trevor Prince, who was the first black policeman that I remember. I remember going to school. We had to pass by the Tally Ho Police Academy, where he'd come out to see my older sister. And Lester Davis, and most recently Paul Reed. That was a big shock, to be honest, that one. Plus singers such as Hazel Watson, who's been gone a good while. She died in the 90s. Sharon Brown, and Levine Hudson. That's just a few that I've been able to think of. Can you think of any more? Has there been any more musicians or singers that you know of? Sorry.
I think, yeah, I think there'd be several, side, but I wouldn't want to name them right now because, again, I think when you think of even the names that you've called, it brings back a lot of memories for people, and I think some of those families are still sort of grieving, really, and I think those
Okay.
individuals were well loved. And it's not that I don't want to name any other person, but I think it's right to remember everyone who, whether we knew them or not, because there are musicians and singers who, I think of James, a saxophonist, which
Oh
people,
my goodness, yeah,
well,
James.
well,
Wow.
and that's why I'm saying I don't want to name names because we would be here for quite a while. I think it's really important to just recognize, and then there's Josh, of course, and you see where it starts to go once you start,
Yeah.
talking about it in that way.
Well,
So I
maybe
think
if you do another well anniversary, commemorative anniversary or something, you can I've seen them do it on Britain's Got Talent, where they put the faces and the names up to honor them, because I was really wanting to honor these people that I remember and who've played for me, over the years.
so here would be my question to you, and this is going to sound quite crash. One of the things when I always try and do something is, why am I doing it?
Yeah.
And we honor these people in their passing. Wouldn't it be great if we could honor people when they're alive? And that's
Yes.
one of the biggest things I've learned about this pandemic. You know, you think about so many people that have passed and we weren't able to go to their funeral. So what is the learning from that? What is the
Absolutely.
learning from that? So I'm doing a project at the moment with some seniors, some amazing people. I think the youngest one is about 61, 60 maybe, and the eldest one is 92. And we're working on
Oh,
Zoom and we're talking about resilience and we're talking about music and we're talking about their experience. And how in heaven's name have they been through the things that they've been through and are still here, still sharing. And guess what? If you're over 70 and you're on Zoom, I think that in itself needs to be commended.
I know.
How is it that,
I can't remember how many times I tried to get my dad to learn how to use his iPad, which he went and bought
well,
for
that's right.
himself. You know?
But, but who, and I think the point I'm making is who would ever believe that we'd be in this digital platform season where we have to communicate with our seniors in the way that we're communicating. But
Yeah.
here, what they've embraced it. They've embraced it because we can't get to see them when we want to. So it's those kind of things that. So I'm very much of the opinion that how do we put, and Jamaican people say this all the time, how do we put the flowers
In the
um,
hand.
when they're alive,
Yes.
not
When
wait
the
till they're dead. You know what I mean? So one of the things I want to encourage us to do is the love that we show for people when they're not with us. Let's try and show that love whilst they're alive.
Brother
Um,
Beres, that is a fitting and beautiful way to end this show. Um, my mum used to always say that, give me my flowers when me alive, not when me dead. And she's been dead 10 years now. Um, I, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
It's a
there's
something
something
done.
in it. There's some
Now.
there's
Yeah.
something in it. We do the big celebratory service for our loved ones, and you know I'm not criticizing that at all. But I think what we must learn now is to think about how we show that love whilst they're alive. You know,
Yeah. Saying that, I must say thank you to Church of God of Prophecy, Bishop Fletcher, and his beautiful wife, Joyce, for honouring my father when he was, I think he was 92. He came home with one big, massive, I don't know where they got that basket from, full of stuff and money they gave him to honour him as one of the eldest brethren in the Church of God of Prophecy. You've just brought that to my mind, and I've still got the basket now in my bedroom. You know, the producer is waving his hand at me. Brother Beres, is there anything finally that you would just want to close down with and say goodbye to everybody? You've said a lot there, but I've still got more questions. So I think I'm going to try and invite you on further on down in the year when maybe you have done something else that we can put in the show.
Again, so it's your call, always your call. I think what I'd want to say
Oh,
to
lovely.
everyone, it's your call. So over the next 5 months, the last Friday in every month, we're doing. I'm working with some amazing young people, call themselves Bouncing Statistics,
Oh,
and
yes.
we're working with the police at the moment to look at stop and search. Um,
Okay.
and people say, well, actually, stop and search has been an issue in the 70s. It used to be called the sus law.
I remember
And
that. Yeah.
those of us growing up would remember the sus law. I'm sure your
Mm.
producer will remember the sus law. Well, actually, we're
Okay.
impacted. We're impacted more now with stop and search than ever before. And we managed to get the West Midlands Police and some young people together to have discussions about that. And the point I'm trying to make is that the young people are now working with the police to look at how we do stop and search because the impact on young people is traumatic.
Yeah.
But yet it's the law, so it's the legislation. The legislation gives people power and police powers to stop and search you. And now we're starting to see that is carried out disproportionately,
As always.
particularly again for young black men. So tomorrow actually is the next one, 8 o'clock. If you go on to Eventbrite at 7 o'clock, Eventbrite,
Right, Eventbrite.
Bouncing Statistics,
Yeah.
Stop and Search.
Okay.
We're doing that for the
I'm
next
getting waved
5
up by
minutes.
my producer. So, is there anything more that you want to add about what's happening tomorrow?
No, just that people can join. It's a great conversation to have. You get to learn what the police have got to say, but more importantly, you hear how Stop and Search impacts young people.
And where do they have to go for that? I missed that
If you go
part.
onto online, Eventbrite, it's a free event
Okay.
from 7 to 8:30. I think the last time we were on, we had about 60 people, 50, 60 people online listening.
And what's the
and
title?
sharing.
Was that the Bouncing Statistics that you mentioned?
Yes, Stop and Search. Yes.
Stop and search. Stop and search. Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
Brother Berries, would you just like to say goodbye before I get a noose put around my neck?
Well, once again, thank you for having me, and it's been a pleasure. And thank you for everyone for listening in, and it's been great. Thank you. Have a good evening, everyone.
Thank you very, very much for agreeing to come on again. And I shall be calling you to come on again, but I'm going to finish off my questions and hear how the next part of your vision has come alive. And once again, Brother Barris, you've been signed, sealed, and delivered. Don't cut me off before I do my thing, please.
We'll give a story of it.
All right. Signed, sealed, and delivered. You've been reeled in. And thank you. I love you to bits. Say hi to Emmett. And we are out.
Take care.